Do you remember this guy? This guy is a content creator, Amir Odom. He made this video right here, a video that I thought was very interesting. I watched it and I thought he made some solid points in that video. Now, what made this video in particular do so well is because it not only came from a black man, of course, but it came from someone who is homosexual. So when he criticized the LGBTQ community, you can kind of get the sense that it's coming from true and unadulterated belief on the problems that he sees with a community that is supposed to represent him. So it was really good to see a video like that, of course. For me, I don't like when people get ideologically captured and just blindly believe everything just because they identify with X, Y, and Z, whether you're black, rich, it doesn't really matter. Just have your own values, think a little bit more nuance, and realize a lot of things are not black and white, which is why I consistently cook the two-party system. At this point, I can say I'm not a fan, we need to do better. But unfortunately, our guy here, Amir, decided to make this video. And well, he started out strong.
When I met Donald Trump, I wanted
Now, admittedly, I haven't watched the full video. That's what we're gonna do in today's video. I'm gonna react to everything that he says, fact check things that I think are incorrect, and potentially add some more nuance. Maybe I agree to some things he says. Maybe I disagree with some of the things he says. We will see. I will provide my perspective. But right off the rip, it definitely seems that he has a side, considering not only he's met Trump, but the way he's phrasing everything definitely seems like it's picking one side over the other. And I guess I can't be too surprised. Unfortunately, what I tend to see happen time and time and time again is that someone has an opinion that is not in the liking of the wokies on the left. Then the wokies on the left continuously attack you, and you get pushed further and further to the right. And because you get pushed further and further to the right, and this might be your left, so I might have to go this way, but because you get pushed further and further there, you start meeting people that are a little bit more accepting, that really agree with your initial claim. You fall into the echo chamber, and then you get pulled more into the radical right, and you end up believing that Trump is the greatest president of all time. That tends to happen so much. And anytime the Republican or person on the right says anything negative about Trump, they get bullied to correct themselves. Yeah, very culty. I mean, we saw it happen to Kyle Rittenhouse. He was bullied, and then 24 hours later, yeah, I should have, I was wrong. I was uninformed. I mean, this tweet perfectly encapsulates that, of course. So, I hate the fact that the two-party system allows this to happen. It's legit a pendulum. It's swinging left and right, getting pushed and pulled, where most of us should be in the gray area, the nuance. We should really think that the radicals are insane. Stop listening to them. But that's not how we're living today, unfortunately. Now, with that said, let's dive right into Amir's video on why black people are supporting Trump, apparently. All right, let's start the video.
when I met Donald Trump, I wanted
All right, right off the bat, the guy met Donald Trump. So I guess I know what side he's on, right?
to know exactly why so many black people were starting to like him. Better yet, I wanted to know why I was supposed to hate him. I had to ask myself, why are most of the cities with high crime, high poverty, and poor education run by mainly Democrats? Not to say that Republicans are perfect, but it's just something I didn't realize. I had to ask myself, why are we sitting here complaining about student loans, healthcare, poor infrastructure, all at the same time while allowing millions of illegals to pour into this country and receive benefits from taxpayer money? Like, if our nation is as bad as we say it is, doesn't it make sense to take care of home first before inviting people in? So
That is, I hear people say this a lot. Doesn't it make sense to make America better first? I'm genuinely curious behind this kind of mindset of making America better first. Like, what does that mean necessarily? Does that mean we don't allow any immigrants into the country until we're better first? What is better first? What standard of America being better first? Is it when we have no homeless, no crime, Like, what is that standard? Should we allow all these people who are suffering from whatever their country is doing, just ignore them, and then all the countries that are having wars, ignore them, and then allow China and Russia to gain more influence over all the other countries until we're better? What is the standard of better? I am so curious. Let me know in the comments section.
Whether you like Trump or not, we've already had him as a president. We already know what living under Trump is like, and when looking at the data, low interest rates.
Home loan interest rates fell under Trump, rose with Biden. This is very misleading. This is a misleading stat, Amir. I'm sorry. I mean, especially when you realize that when it comes to Biden, he literally took over when COVID started. A lot of the reason why interest rates are so high has a lot to do with COVID. So this is misleading, especially since like the early years, which I give you. There's question on, was the interest rate so low because of Obama's policies, or was it so low because of Trump just drilling into the country? There is not speculation. There's differing conclusions regarding that. From my understanding, the consensus is that a lot of Obama's economic policies led to the interest rates being so good for the early years, because we know that economic policies take a while to take into effect to start manifesting itself inside the country. It doesn't really make sense that just because you do something the same year that the interest rate's going to lower that year. That's not how the economy works. It's a gradual process, right? So this is misleading, especially when you take everything into account. All right.
Rates, low unemployment.
This is important to consider because Trump did create a lot of jobs, which I do give credit for. Joe Biden's created even more jobs than Trump. Unemployment was record low. I think it was like 3%. So it's not better under Trump, considering Biden's unemployment rate is lower than his, but okay.
Record stock market.
Stock market has gained 36% dating back to Trump's surprise election. What is the stock market? And this is a genuine question to anybody in the comments. What does the stock market have to do with the president? I'm genuinely asking. I'm not even bullshit. I'm genuinely asking.
Market numbers, bringing back American manufacturing. There was a lot.
Joe Biden also did a lot for manufacturing jobs. I think he provided more manufacturing jobs than Donald Trump. So those things that you were mentioning, misleading, doesn't tell the full story. So I mean, again, I know what side you're on. You met Trump, so all these points are not the most honest representation of Trump and Biden and their presidencies. This is unfortunate. Like I said, I liked your video regarding talking about LGBTQ, because I do think some of those criticisms are warranted, but the nuance disappears when it comes to Trump, unfortunately.
That was done during that time period. And when I sit back and I look around the world today and I think, are we in a better place now than what we were in 2018, 2019 when Trump was in his prime? Not so much. If we're being completely real, everything that they said that will happen under Trump has been happening under Biden.
That's a lie. I don't even know. That's a complete lie. What? And also the point of it was better under Trump. Yeah, when he took over a pretty easygoing situation. The economy was improving, and he just had to kind of ride the wave and continue doing what he's doing. Then COVID hit, a worldwide pandemic that ruined the entire world. Matter of fact, a lot of Republicans were very critical of Trump because he spent hella money, which you guys criticize Joe Biden for, but he spent a lot of money and he shut down the country with shutdowns, which again, you guys were very critical for. So, like, where's the nuance? Why are we not using nuance, Amir? Like, what are we doing right now?
There's so much going on, and we're going to talk about that in this video. We're going to outline and discuss why so many black people are starting to support him and so many black people are starting not to like him, and we're going to give my opinion on it all.
If you cannot afford...
Now, that was just his intro. Maybe I can listen to him, see what he thinks, and kind of maybe we can find some common ground. So I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. We're having a conversation. We're not battling each other. Just because I don't like Trump doesn't mean that we have to hate each other, right? Come on.
Or to move out of this country within the next year, I need you to take Project 2025 and Trump potentially getting reelected very seriously, because if it happens, Trump and his supporters have every intention of taking the livelihood away from a lot of people. If it's already hard for you to take care of your financial responsibilities, to take care of your family, if it's hard for you to find medical aid for yourself or people that you love, Trump is going to make that harder. They plan to put policies in place that will make it very hard for everyone to live in this country unless you have a six-figure salary. No one is exaggerating, and I understand that with the political climate that we're in, it can be very overwhelming, and I understand people that choose to ignore it. However, no one is exaggerating when they say our livelihoods are at stake. It's not going to be a rough 4 years. It's going to be a rough 20 years. It's going to be a rough 30 years, 40 years, because they're putting policies in place that are going to last.
We're going to get into Project 25, but I have to say, it is genuinely sad seeing the sheer amount of fear that this woman has to be living in the United States right now. How inundated this woman is by mainstream media and the things that they're saying and the things that she's reading and how she's interpreting things. That genuine fear, I believe it. I believe she genuinely thinks like you should leave the United States if you have the money to. I genuinely think she believes the next 10, 20, 30 years the United States is going to be horrible because Trump gets elected, if he does get elected, but that's just not the case. I do not feel that way at all. And when it comes to Project 2025, I'll be sure to elaborate on it in another video, so be sure to subscribe for that. But my quick opinion on it is I'm not honestly worried about it at all. It ain't nothing more to me than just a wish list by a bunch of conservative people from a nonprofit think tank. That's it. Which includes a bunch of Black people and Hispanic people as well. It's just how
I have a lot of issues with what you just said. One thing for the girl that's in the clip, yeah, I think a lot of her is just a lot of things that she was saying in that clip. I think it's inappropriate if you can't back up and articulate exactly what you're talking about. This is what I have an issue with, like a lot of people getting into politics, but not really understanding the stuff that they're reading. Now, I agree with Amir that a lot of people have a fear over Project 2025, but they don't really know why they fear Project 2025, right? I've looked through Project 2025. I haven't looked through the whole manifesto, but I looked at bits and pieces. Stuff that I have seen is definitely extremely worrying, especially with the idea that they want to take certain, they want to consolidate the executive power to like one person and potentially even increase that power. I'd put like more Christian beliefs into government. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff that I made a video regarding Project 2025 that I read off. It's like, hey, look at it, right? So Project 2025 is a legitimate concern. It's not just a think tank from conservatives. I think it's better to say that radical conservatives think tank also want to change the government. Now, to be fair, Donald Trump has denounced Project 2025, even though a lot of his administration is part of the Project 2025 staff, and Trump is a known pathological liar. So you always got to take Trump's words at face value, for sure. And the fact that JD Vance definitely appreciates, at the very least, some leaders in Project 2025, even though he says he's disagreed with some things and agreed with others. So the concern is warranted, but not factual, because there's no guarantee that this will be implemented into government. But if it was, the whole idea that you're not concerned at all if Project 2025 is implemented is very interesting. Now, maybe there's beliefs that you have that really do coincide with it. But some things that I want to point out, especially when I assume that you care about like gay rights, for example, is one thing that they kind of put out there is that it was very interesting, is that they plan to create like grant-based programs for married couples that prioritize heterosexual couples and faith-based couples. One, making any federal grant or anything like that a religious thing, very worrying in my opinion. And two, prioritizing heterosexual couples over homosexual ones. I mean, I feel like you would think that would be weird. I don't know. Maybe you think that's okay. Heterosexual couples are more important. Maybe you think that's fine. But that's one thing that they put in Project 2025. Another thing they put in Project 2025 is they want to completely get rid of DEI programs. All of it. They think DEI is terrible. So with something like that, which from my understanding, DEI is a program that allows for the equality of opportunity to be reinforced for people who are minorities in the country more so, right? I don't agree with equality of outcome. I agree with equality of opportunity. Showcase your merit, give your minorities more of a voice, because of course they're just not going to be listened to, or they're not going to be heard as much because they're in a more unfortunate, they don't have as much resources, they are different from the majority population. So I agree with certain aspects of DEI, as long as it's fair and warranted and merit based. So these things are basically gone with Project 2025 being implemented. So the fact that you're not concerned about it is very interesting. But hey, man, maybe that's your prerogative. Fair enough.
How they envision our country to be, and like a goals and a wishes of what they want. That's it. Do I think that there's some great
That's it.
policies in there? For sure, but there's also a lot of really bad ones. But
Okay.
again, with this in mind, let's just hear what Trump has to say about it.
And you know, the other side's going around trying to make me sound extreme, like I'm an extremist. I'm not. I'm a person with great common sense. I'm not an extremist at all. Like some on the right, severe right, came up with this Project 25, and I don't even know. I mean, some of them I know who they are, but they're very, very conservative, just like you have. They're sort of the opposite of the radical left, okay? You have the radical left and you have the radical right, and they come up with this, I don't know what the hell it is, it's Project 25. He's involved in Project, and then they read some of the things, and they are extreme. I mean, they're seriously extreme. But I don't know anything about it. I don't want to know anything about it. But what they do is misinformation and disinformation.
I'm gonna leave that there. We'll talk about it in a whole another video. That's Trump's take on Project 2025.
It's funny how when Trump says something, they completely believe him. But when Trump is proven to lie, they completely ignore it. I give credit to Trump for denouncing it, but because Trump lies so much, I only can take that at face value. I mean, Ben Shapiro even says, some things that you can, some things that Trump says, you just like ignore it, right? So it's funny the how Trumpies pick and choose what they want to listen to and believe when it comes to Trump. It's very, very interesting. And I do agree that it is radical, a lot of radical things. But do you really believe that he has no idea what Project 2025 is? And he says he doesn't know he tried to say he doesn't know people, but we know for a fact that Trump administration people there. I know I'm repeating what I just said earlier, but I want to reinforce that point because it's very important to consider that, yes, as of right now, no confirmation that Trump supports Project 2025, but that don't just believe that. Trump lies to you guys very easily. Do not just believe that. I'm not going to make the claim that he does support it, but I'm also not going to make the claim that he doesn't support it. That's where I stand.
Y'all heard my take. I'm honestly not worried about it at all. And there's a lot of other black people who are still going to be voting for Trump that do not care about it as well. And they understand when
That's a terrible point to make. You don't care about Project 2025 at all? That's a terrible, like, you can say that I don't think it'll be implemented, but don't say I don't care if it happens. Or maybe that is what he's saying. Maybe that is what you're saying.
when they look at it and they read it for what it is, it's just a wish list that not everybody agrees with at that.
And so many of them are Trump supporters. There are black Trump supporters everywhere. YouTube, TikTok, everywhere. And I'm like, wait, we were all here 4 years ago. We were all here when the insurrection happened. We were all here when we saw that man incite violence and these white people took upon themselves to storm the Capitol. We were all here when that happened. Do you think can't take criticism? No, we can't do it again.
She's about to have a heart attack. Blood pressure's too high. Calm it down. Breathe. Remember, like you said, we already had him as a president. And I'm sure, like a lot of us, we were just fine under his presidency, okay? I'm so tired of
That's not a good point because this next presidency, there's way more concern because stuff he's done after his presidency is what builds up a lot of this worry when it comes to Trump. So that's not really a good point, but keep going.
hearing about him being hateful and Jan 6 and all the violence when we saw what 2020 was like. We know very clearly what went down and the sheer amount of protests and riots that took place, okay? The main reason why I do not care when people bring up January 6th and this and that, oh, you shouldn't vote for him because that was the worst day in democracy. I'm sorry. There's a lot of footage that people just have not seen, okay? There's footage of police walking around with people in...
Oh no. He has all the Trumpy talking points. Like, I guarantee that he's in a circle with all like the Trumpy social media people that just reinforce these talking points, and he's just seen a bunch of clips where they just keep on saying these talking points. All these talking points have been debunked so many times, but I'll let him finish and then we'll talk about it.
Inside the Capitol, there's videos of the police giving basically a tour to some people in the Capitol. Like, yes, there were a lot of dumb people that day who were very hateful and spiteful and trying to incite violence. I get it. But one thing is for sure, there's a lot of people who do not have the full story from that evening, the amount of corruption that took place on that day. And it's clear the footage I just showed, they kept for a reason to help control the narrative, especially regarding the George Floyd riots in 2020. I don't see how someone can say Jan 6 was so worse and the worst in democracy when not even 6 months prior to Jan 6, this was the streets of DC. Like, they quite literally set a church on fire.
St. John's Church is on fire. The parish office, we went downstairs and it is on fire. I'm going to walk. We saw graffiti. Once the door was broken, we saw something similar happen earlier.
I just can't sit here in good faith and be upset and pin all this Jan 6 stuff on Trump when we lived the reality that was 2020 and the sheer amount of corruption and crime that took place. And I know there's a lot of other black people who agree with me and feel the same way. They understand how corrupt and how crazy that year was compared to Jan 6, and Jan 6 was quite literally nothing to them. 2020 was such a brutal year, and it was very awakening for a lot of people, because in that year, if you were outspoken, woo child. The amount of stress you were put under, the amount of censoring you were put under, the amount of backlash from your family, it really made a lot of people just shut up, honestly. And it sucks because people shouldn't have to fear being canceled or doxxed or fired from their job for simply sharing an opinion that they hold.
Bingo! What did I say at the beginning of this video? A lot of how these people become Trumpies is that they have an opinion, the crazy wokies on the left push them to the right, those people on the right accept them, and they get pushed into the Trump sphere. That is how it happens, and you crazy wokies, you're at fault. You're at fault because there's no reason to attack someone who disagrees with your wokey rhetoric. Some of the things that he's saying, I do think is flawed, but some of the things that he's saying I do agree with, because when it comes down to the BLM riots, I thought that was ridiculous, it's crazy, and people were defending it. It was so dumb how bad it was getting. Like, the violence and the damage that was taking place after the George Floyd incident was unprecedented. Now, could you argue that police reform is a good thing? Sure. But the overall backlash after the George Floyd and what people were doing, they weren't protesting. They were destroying things. They were using the situation to their advantage just to raise destruction and just to cause chaos, right? So I agree. BLM riots, very bad. The reason why January 6th is January 6th is worse is not because of the extent of damage, but because of the principle that was taking place of a president, former president, exciting these people, riling them up, having the intentionality to send them over to the White House to stop the peaceful process of power, transfer of process of power. Stop that process because he thinks everything is corrupt because it didn't work out in his way. And he tried to contact senators to stop the votes, to recount, to do a re-election, to make sure that Joe Biden doesn't win. The fact that a leader went out of his way to do that is disgusting. As you said, which is funny that you didn't show the clips of all the people committing violence, breaking into the White House, because the first people that was breaking it, that came in the White House were breaking in. There was people coming in. At that point, there was way too many people. So now, yeah, the police has to start directing people to make sure that they don't go towards the worst areas where the governmental officials are. They were directing them away from those areas. So all this is misleading stuff that you're saying in regards to January 6th. And it has been debunked many of times. But ultimately, I agree that the BLM riots are also terrible. So why do we have to say one is bad and one is not? Why don't we just say January 6th was a terrible thing for the government and for abuse of power, and BLM was a terrible thing because those people were wilding out there. But ultimately, it's very understandable why he feels the way he feels, because the wokies on the left were attacking him. So now that's why he's supporting Trump. That's literally the conclusion that all of this is.
Someone that is about to start speaking up a lot more when it comes to your opinions and how you feel about certain things, and I think it's definitely worth taking a look in today's sponsor, Aura. The problem is that these data brokers pull
Aura. Also, something I want to put out is that even like, yeah, I criticize the right a lot, especially since the presidential season. But the woke lefties, again, they like that woman. She was going crazy, but I agree, she didn't really know what she's talking about. Majority of people that I have seen don't know what they're talking about. Like that's, and for someone like me who sees it, I'm like, I get it. Like I've criticized the way information is portrayed. I criticize how headlines are portrayed. It's not just the mainstream media, because I know you're kind of brainwashed. I think it's only the mainstream media, but it's also social media. It's also content creators like you, content creators like me. Like all this type of information is getting portrayed to the people, and they don't know how to contextualize it. So I try to simplify things as best as possible and give like proper information and the proper nuance, and really try to elicit that a lot of these things is not simple. It's not one guy is right, one guy is wrong. Now, ultimately, I think Donald Trump is like the worst embodiment of a presidential candidate with power I've ever seen. So that's why I'm so harsh on him, because I think he's objectively terrible. I've made this video right here that you guys can go watch where I lay out all my criticisms. But ultimately, a lot of these things are, I think you can like honestly say that you disagree with, and I think that's fine. All right, let's skip the sponsor. Is this still doing the sponsor? Successful removers, data brokers, L Data Brokers. Check out Aura. Get this man paid, man. We support.
What are the black jobs?
They're taking black jobs now.
What are the black jobs that he thinks immigrants who have come into this country who are undocumented
illegal
are taking? What are the black jobs? He used his answer on the debate stage to try to pit black people against Hispanic people in this country.
wrong. He said that to let people know, the people who already do know, how bad the illegal immigration has come. He ain't saying anything about the Hispanic people. He said illegal immigrants, of which, yes, largely Hispanic, but he's not blanketing all Hispanic people. He's not pitting the two races together. He clearly is talking about illegal immigration.
Because he thinks it will benefit him at the ballot box in November. How little does Donald Trump think of black people and black voters and Hispanic people and the Hispanic voters in this country? How little does he think of us?
The funny part is that he thinks of us a lot. He's actually connecting with these communities because they understand the people that are there dealing with it are not liking it.
The mayors of Chicago, New York City, and now Denver are all requesting federal help and coordination with Texas over the growing number of asylum seekers arriving in their cities.
You want this help from the government now, but you out here sitting and promoting and advocating for illegal immigration. So
nobody's advocating for illegal immigration. That's a lie. Nobody's advocating for it. Now, I feel like something to kind of consider. Like I said, I already criticized asylum and how it's done. I do think there's a legitimate criticism that is there. But also, people need to realize that Trump, at the end of the COVID period, where he literally blocked all immigration because of Title 42, which is an executive order he put in place due to COVID, all those people, after Title 42 was rescinded, all those people were right at that border. So he didn't do anything grandiose. He just capitalized off of COVID to prevent immigration to happen. And then when those people try to come to the country, Joe Biden did so much deportation to ensure that these people just don't come in the country illegally. So I think people need to be a lot more fair, but should you be critical? Sure. I'm against illegal immigration. The country is against illegal immigration, but border, all that stuff, you could argue should be more secure, better training. I'm fine with that. Matter of fact, the vice president of Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, actually said that he advocates for stronger border security and better trained patrol officers. So I'm all for that for sure, and potentially revamping the asylum process.
You wanna talk all that smoke and let Texas deal with it. Because now when Texas is saying no, you're not gonna vote and push for illegal immigration that I'm gonna have to deal with. I'm gonna send them to y'all so y'all can deal with it. Now you got a problem. Fake. New York is being run over with these migrants and they're not liking it. And where are they going? To the black neighborhoods, okay? That's why he said that. That's why he's talking about the black community and they're taking the black jobs because they're going there and it's cheaper to pay an illegal under the table cash than it is to hire somebody in the local neighborhood. Let's take a
I think you made that last part up. I think you made that last part up, that you think that people were just paying immigrants under the table cash. That's I think you made that up. But yeah, they're going to low income areas. I don't know why we're saying black neighborhoods. They're going to low income areas. They're also just going to cities in general. So that doesn't necessarily mean they're taking black jobs, but they are taking low income jobs, which is okay, fair.
Take a look at Chicago, another community that is fed up with these illegal immigrants.
When do citizens of the United States of America come first?
On the southwest side, city officials getting an earful.
How about this? Give them all these politicians' addresses and put them in their backyards, in their basements, in their houses.
This meeting at Richard J. Daley.
I think these are valid criticisms. Like, there's nothing that I'm denying there when it comes down to it. The immigration situation is the Republicans' strongest point, to be honest. For sure, their strongest point. And I do think it can be taken care of better. But also, I need to put this into place, to push my anti-Trump agenda, is the Democrats try to put a better immigration policy into place. Matter of fact, when they tried to do it, Donald Trump went out of his way, and the Donald Trump supporters went out of their way in Congress to block the bill that was there to create better immigration policy, better border policy. So they actually tried it, but it didn't help. The Republicans didn't want it to be better because they wanted to get reelected. So, if we know this, my question: should we criticize Donald Trump for this? Should we criticize Donald Trump for playing these games? Should we criticize Republicans for playing these games? Let me know.
Lee College comes as this.
All those black people in there mad. You can't hide this. It's a sea full of black people angry that the illegal immigration has gotten this bad. Keep talking about Hispanics versus blacks. No, there's some real stuff going on and people are fed up. So this is another reason why a lot of black people are sitting here being real with themselves. Like, you know what? I know Trump's gonna put an end to this. And that's why there's a rising support.
Trump is going to put an end to this. How do you know this? What did he exactly do for the immigration other than shut it down because COVID allowed it to him? What do you think he's going to do? Curious. Deport a lot of people? Joe Biden's deported a lot of people. Curious, what exactly do you think Trump is going to do? Let me know. Build a wall? He said he was going to build a wall last time. He didn't build a wall this time.
Because they're tired of all this debauchery that is going on in the United States of America right now under Biden's presidency.
All right, so I just wanted to clarify something real quick in regards to people like myself who support President Trump. Because I think...
Also, let me be very clear. If one of the big concerns for you is immigration, I understand why you think it's Joe Biden's fault. I understand. So I'm not mad at you. I get why you think that way. I do.
I think there's a major misconception that, people think that it's just all about him, but I think the part that they're missing is that, there's a lot of younger black voters who have realized that, your race doesn't have to dictate how you vote.
Agreed.
You being black doesn't obligate you to vote for the Democratic Party. You don't
Agreed.
have to. You can actually just vote your values. You can
Agreed.
prioritize the issues that are important to you. And so that's
Agreed.
what a lot of us are doing today. I'll give you an example. We have a two-party system, right? Basically, two-party system. You have one party that supports school choice, the other one doesn't. I like school choice. I think that if a parent can have the option or the opportunity to get a voucher, send their kid to a private school or send their kid to a really good charter, then that's exactly what you should do. And I don't...
I think he's making fair points. School choice is something that I really have a tough time figuring out my true beliefs regarding. The reason why is because I personally do think private school charter schools can be better, but if we make it to where private schools and charter schools are the norm, at that point we are basically giving up on public education. And not everybody has the ability to send their kids to private and charter schools. So the education disparity will increase dramatically due to this. So that's why I'm like concerned about the idea if we implement school choice to a large degree. But ultimately, school choice and all that is a state level thing. That has nothing to do with Donald Trump. There's nothing Donald Trump is going to put into place to make this a federal thing. So that point, supporting Donald Trump and school choice, they don't really that doesn't really align, to be honest. But keep it going.
Care about this notion that, you know, it's going to hurt the public schools and it's going to make the public schools worse. They couldn't possibly get any worse than they are. I'm sorry.
That's a stupid thing to say. I'm be honest. That's a stupid thing to say. Saying public schools can't get worse, like we're lying to ourselves. They just be honest. Just be honest. They 100% can get worse. They for sure can get worse because there's still a lot of students benefiting from public schools, gaining a career and making something of themselves. So let's not lie. Let's not lie. Okay.
They're already terrible. So
and school choice is such a simple thing to back. It's like parents should have the choice to send their child to whatever school they want to go to.
Again, two-party system. One likes open borders, the other one doesn't. I prefer
nobody supports open borders. That's a lie. So I'm gonna move on from this lot. Oh, I'm just letting me talk.
And there's no discussion here. The numbers don't lie. 400,000 in 2020 migrant encounters. 1.6 million the very next year, 2021. End of discussion.
The numbers do lie. The COVID. Oh my God. The numbers do lie because you can't contextualize what that means. Oh my God. I already explained it in this video. Against, it's so tough. Like, do I be the nice guy or do I just cook the shit out of this guy for not knowing the proper information? I don't want to cook the shit out of this guy. I get why people think. They are told terrible talking points from the Republicans and Trump, and that's why they think the way they think. I do think there's nuance. I like the idea of school choice. I like the idea of a secure border, but none of this stuff is as simple as you're making it. The school choice stuff is done at the state level, and there is legitimate concern that it's going to ruin public education. And when it comes to the border, nobody supports an open border. This is a lie. So it just irritates me, man.
Case closed. Again, two-party system. One party seems to be very aggressively pushing this agenda, this ideology that just completely defies the science of biology. And we're supposed to bend the knee, throw away our common sense, disregard our beliefs for somebody else's delusion. And I'm saying no. I'm going with the appropriate party because it's a hard no for me.
Which that alone is very interesting because there's so many people backing Kamala because she's a woman, because she's a black woman, but you can't even define me what a woman is. There's all this.
That's a stupid thing. Oh my God, bro. All these Trumpy talking points are so bad. Oh man. If you disagree with the trans stuff, fine. I'm not gonna push back on you with that. But those are just the like radical leftists. You know how, earlier in the video where he was making the case that Project 2025 is the radical righties? Well, the trans stuff is the radical lefties, right? So but I think that's a fair thing because that is a leftist point, the crazy trans stuff. So I understand that. The whole Kamala Harris, she's a woman, what is a woman? That's such a dumb point to make. Stop equating everything to the crazy lefties. We're not, yeah. Does he say anything else that's
tipping and hollering about supporting women? You can't even define it. If men can be women and women can be men, that makes us null and void. That means there's no difference. That means there's no gender pay gap. That means we've already had a female president. I mean, if it's just interchangeable and it doesn't matter, then I mean Trump can technically just say he's a woman and then boom, there's the first female president. Per your logic.
Oh, that's
not
so
mine,
dumb.
yours.
And
that's
we
so
can go
dumb.
on and on and on. Billions and billions of dollars over to Ukraine. Why it's 1,000,001 problems right here. And I'm gonna finish by saying this. You see, because there's a party who is constantly telling me that I'm a victim, that I'm oppressed, that I can't do anything, that white people have all the privilege and my country hates me and I need them, that they are my saviors. And I just reject that notion.
That's exactly how so many black people feel. It's how I've always felt. Like you can't.
I blame you, woke lefties. This is your fault because you guys keep on preaching that dumb shit. I agree to that point because that's why I'm trying so hard not to be super critical of like things that are just wrong, because I get it. Not everybody can really deep dive into politics and really understand the truth of the matter, right? I understand why people are thinking the way they think. I just think it's very unfortunate that the person that they blindly believe in to change all this stuff that you guys are concerned about is Donald Trump of all people. Like, I understand. I get it. I 100% am with you with the woke lefties being cringe as hell. But Trump, really? Man, because everything that people are saying about Trump, just watch this video, man. Watch this video. I break everything down. Trump is not the one.
Sit here and tell me I'm a victim time after time after time. You can't. You just can't.
You're not talking to them old church folk no more, right?
Is there anything else worth? All right, I'm gonna go to his final thoughts.
That is outstanding. I have to be honest and say I'm very happy to see this amount of support for Donald Trump with black people. Like, I did not see any of.
Yep, that's all I needed to hear. Trump supporter through and through. It's unfortunate that people fall in these Trumpy echo chambers and really end up, to be honest, no better than the woke lefties that you guys criticize so much. You guys are basically the same type of people, just on different sides of different coins. So it's unfortunate, but I prefer more nuance when it comes to thinking about politics and talking politics. And I prefer to not allow a man to ideologically control my values. Personally, if your values are as concrete as they are, then just because you're getting bullied from the left or right, I don't see how your values are changing so drastically, right? So, but I get it. I mean, immigration's a big one, trans stuff is a big one, but in terms of running the country, in terms of being a leader, but in terms of keeping democracy like stable, I think Donald Trump is just the worst person. So with that said, pretty interesting video. Some things I agreed with, some things I think are blatantly wrong that was said in this video, but I get the sentiment. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section below. You have a good one. Take care and peace.